Bible says in the book of John, the 19th chapter, and the 28th verse, it says, after this, Jesus, knowing that all was now finished, said to fulfill the scripture, I thirst. Allow me to take a quick moment to preach and teach from the title, Don't Worry. The well ain't dry. Don't worry. The well ain't dry. See, thirsty is defined as having an uncomfortable feeling because you need something to drink. You're in need of water. It is defined as a strong desire or need for something. When examining this text and the surrounding words, what I have discovered is that the first three words that were spoken from Calvary focused on the people around him. They focused on the enemy, the thief, and John and Mary. But the next three words that pierced the lips of Jesus focused on the triune being of who he was. For the next three words, he declared that he was flesh, soul, and spirit. It is in the fifth word from Calvary that for the first time ever, Jesus refers to his flesh by whispering the words, I thirst. This is the first time that he acknowledged the agony and pain of his body that his body was experiencing while he was enduring Calvary's experience. It was the first time that he gave a nod to the pain and the beating that he had been taking from the blood post to Calvary's heel. But yet I find it to be odd that when it came to the flesh, that he did not refer to the crown that was pressing down upon his skull, nor did he reference the skin that was hanging from his body. No, when it came to the flesh, he looked past all of the visible signs of his beating, and he reached behind the curtain of his humanity to tell all of the world that he was thirsty. Many have come to the conclusion that he was thirsty in his body, and no doubt that he was. By the way, by way he gave the flesh, and now I have to ask myself the question, he hadn't complained about his flesh all of this time, so why start complaining now? For the Bible tells me, at least mine does, that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. I ask that you step out with me this evening as I propose to you that Jesus the Christ was suffering from a greater thirst. A thirst that laid on the outside of his flesh. For the word thirsty or thirst is recorded 57 times in the Bible. In every case that I read, in every case that I examined, that thirst that they were talking about was filled. So I have to believe that in this case, when he spoke the words that I thirst, that he had the ability to call down to the rocks that were scattered about Calvary's mountain and ask him to spring forth the water so he could quench his flesh. But no. I come saying to this evening, I submit to you that Jesus was thirsty spiritually. The clue, the blue clues, Pastor, it lies in the word that was given prior to this one when he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? For the first time ever, he did not feel the gaze of his Father upon his head. For the first time ever, God had turned his back on his only begotten Son, and he found himself in a dry place. I have one question to ask you this evening. For all those who can hear the sound of my voice, have you ever found yourself in a dry place? Have you ever been thirsty? Perhaps you've been thirsty in your relationships. Perhaps you're thirsty on your job. Have your finances ever been thirsty? Have you ever found yourself in a dry and a barren place? No matter how much you fast and pray, it doesn't seem like God is hearing you. No matter how much you read and study your word, it doesn't seem like you're growing spiritually. No matter how much much you evangelize, ain't nobody new joining the church. No matter how hard you preach, nobody's coming down to be saved. I got news for you tonight. I want you to know that everything that Jesus experienced upon Calvary's mountain, it was not for his sake. Jesus was thirsty on our behalf so that we wouldn't have to experience what it is to be thirsty. Have you ever asked yourself the question, how can a man that has a well on the inside of living water flowing through his veins, have you ever asked the question, how the well that never dries up found thirst in his being? Well, I got news for you, saints. It wasn't because he didn't have the ability to reach down on the inside of himself and quench the thirst that he was going through, but he had to show the world that I will endure on your behalf. I'll be thirsty because of your bad relationships. I'll be thirsty because of your bad marriages. I'll be thirsty because of the job that you're on. I will thirst, but the thirst ends here. I want you to know that while Jesus was hanging on the cross, he was tapping into a well. He was tapping into a well, and he was letting you know that when you're thirsty, Pastor, all you got to do is call my name, because I am the cornerstone. I am the rock of rocks, the King of kings, the Prince of prince. I am the great I am, the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star. I am the rose of Sharon. I am the one who walked on water, stepped in the grave. I am the one who touched the lame and told them to walk. When you have thirst, get your tap, plug into me, because my Bible says when you drink water, you'll thirst again, but when you drink of me, you'll never thirst, never again. Not in your flesh, not in your soul, not in your mind.